K-pop boy group ZEROBASEONE released their second mini-album, Melting Point, on November 6, 2023. I'm Courdy Roy, and welcome to BlushCat, Track by Track. Howdy Meowers, welcome back to another Track by Track. The album that I'm reviewing and commentating on today is ZEROBASEONE's newest release, Melting Point. I did already do a track by track on their debut release, which was Youth in the Shade, and I am going to be referencing back to that a lot and talking about some of the observations I made with that album and thoughts I had about those songs in reference to these new songs. So you might want to go check that out if you haven't heard it already. And the track by tracks are available on both YouTube and Spotify. On YouTube, it's a video version, but the tracks are not included. So I'm going to recommend streaming the songs from ZB1's official profile before each section of my commentary. If you are listening on Spotify, then you don't have to worry about that because each of the actual tracks will be included before I discuss each song. So we've got a lot of great songs here. I really like this album, and I'm going to get started soon, but I do want to just quickly say, if you notice a change in appearance, if you're watching on YouTube, please ignore it. Hopefully it will be back to the way it was soon. Thank you. I also want to say that this time, the album has only been released for a week now when I am doing this, and so I usually kind of like to give it a little more time. I like to listen to the tracks like a lot. I have listened to the tracks a lot already on this album because I really enjoy it and I think they're really good, but this is kind of more my initial thoughts and reaction to these songs. So keep in mind that I might have some more thoughts about it later, obviously, as I listen more and more, which is what's going to happen with every release, really. You know, the more you listen to it, the more you think about it. So now let's get started with track 1, Melting Point. Melting Point is obviously the title of this mini album, and it's the first track, but it is not the title track of this album. The title track is actually track 3. But the first thing that I want to say about Melting Point, now maybe I feel like it's so obvious that I'm sure other people have had this thought already, so it's probably not a new take, but the first thing that I want to say is that the post-chorus sounds just like Miss A Hush. Not like exactly, but like I feel like if you know Miss A Hush, you're going to inevitably think of that when you hear the post-chorus part, and that would be the part that goes touch, touch, my heart, blush, blush, my two cheeks, rush, rush, it gets hot, and then, you know, it does a similar part again. So that part sounds like Miss A, but it's incredibly catchy, and so it really gets stuck in my head a lot, which I enjoy. I love the intro to this song. It's so pretty and twinkly, and Jonghouse, like sort of echoey ya sounds are very dreamlike, and to me it feels like snowflakes falling, but then it fades out for a moment, and when it fades back in, that's when the beat kicks in, and it's so fun. It also reminds me of the way In Bloom starts, and that song feels like sunlight shining, so this song paints a nice picture, and it has a strong feeling to me as well. I really like the lyrics at Ricky's part. The 4 seasons have already returned with my heart that will remain the same like time. And so it's like saying that a whole year has passed, but the person still likes the other person just as much as they did before. And again, if you haven't heard any of my track by tracks, I am using the English translations for these lyrics. So another lyric that I really like is Jiyoung's part. Following us, walking side by side, sparkling snowflake, the excitement, can't stop it, baby. I love the sparkling snowflake line a lot. His tone really works well for that line. And also it makes me think of a K-drama Like, they often have scenes with falling cherry blossom petals or snow falling, so this reminds me of that. And I also really like Hanbin's part during the chorus, "Why are you so good?" It's a nice catchy line, and it reminds me of his "Like a Habit, Heart Like" line from "And I," which was a song on their first album, so I just think that his voice suits that part nicely. I love the stage performances for this song. The fact that they perform it is really nice, and I feel like this is kind of the concept that a lot of people thought that they'd have. I know I kind of thought they'd have something more this style based off of those Boys Planet images that they showed everybody when we were supposed to come up with a name for the group. And so I like that they're promoting it. And it reminds me of the Boys' Salty. Like, it has those wintry vibes, but they're also having a lot of fun with this song on stage, and it's just really great. So the chorus beats are very chill and fun, and there's like, the scale of rising notes, and then there's those drum and clap sounds, and again, it sort of reminds me of "And I" with the general chillness of it. I also like how, especially during the verses, or rather particularly during the verses, it sounds like melting in a way, because there's this one bright and high tone, but then the beats that follow are quieter and softer, and then each time that sequence repeats, the first note changes. Like, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. So to me, it kind of sounds like the notes are dripping and melting, and like, maybe that sounds like a reach, but it's just what I thought of while listening to the song, and it gives me that vibe. So yeah, I really love this track. I think it's really great. It's fun, and I'm so glad that they perform it. It's very pretty, but it's also very chill. Track 2 is "Take My Hand." This song reminds me of Twice, "Feel Special," mostly at the beginning, but like the verses sound like "Feel Special" to me. I think that Eugen's refrain is really catchy, and I like the melody and the way that he sings it. So the line is, "Everywhere you touch becomes illuminated, your smile lights up my heart." Honestly, the beat that is most noticeable at the chorus is a little creepy in a way to me, but at the same time, I like it. Like, it's dark and spooky in a way. Like, it kind of feels isolated, but it's really catchy, and it's what helps me remember this song, and it's what makes this song stand out. Like, I can't explain it really, but it feels like they're luring you away almost with the beats, and then they're singing about flying away and dancing in the moonlight. So honestly, I feel like it's supposed to feel like that, like, "Take my hand, let's go." So I get it. And I think that the best example that I thought of for like the feeling and the vibes that I get from this song is when you're playing a video game. Probably an MMO is where this happens a lot, and there's like a portal you can take or a hidden door of some sort, and it brings you to a secret room or level or like VIP area, and it's this hidden exclusive place, and that's where I feel like this song is bringing me. It's definitely very magical and dreamlike, which is what the lyrics refer to, and it's also just a bit haunting or something. I can't describe it that well, but it is very catchy, and I do like it overall. Terry's parts remind me of his New Kids on the Block parts. That's just something that I noticed. I really like the part in the bridge when it bounces from Ricky to Matthew. So Ricky says, "Holding your hand tightly," and then Matthew says, "Jump in and fall." It just kind of feels like a rise and fall itself, and it's really catchy. Then right after the bridge, there's a short musical interlude with like those beats that are at the chorus, but I like how it fades out and comes back in. I think it's a very fitting use of that technique. So there's a lot of really catchy elements to this song, including the melody and the different ways that the members sing. There's like some slower, almost drawling lines, I want to say, that contribute to that sort of mysterious feeling. But then the chorus is like stronger and projecting. But then there's also some faster and quick lines that are closer to the beginning that keeps it light in a sense. So it's very interesting and compelling in a way that I feel like it's supposed to be, since it's called Take My Hand. And that instrumental is very unique and a little mysterious, but at the same time, it's very catchy. Take My Hand is definitely a song that stands out to me on this album for how different it is. Next up is track 3, the title track, Crush. As we know, Crush is the title track for this album, which means that they're promoting it a lot and they're going on music shows. So in their M Countdown comeback stage, they have this intro opening video and they say, "I bloomed because of you and I will protect you." And so the overall theme of this song is basically another song about zeros, which is their bands. And so the message is that the members are like roses that bloom because of zeros, and they will return the love that their fans have shown them by protecting them, even if they become thorns. There's a similar intro to Melting Point with a couple of slow beats before the real rhythm kicks in. It's kind of like a very harsh and dark melting point. It's surprising to me that this is the title when the overall concept of the album feels like it's supposed to be wintry and lighter, but at the same time, like I said, it does sound similar to Melting Point and Take My Hand. I love how right away we're surprised because the beats that open the song are very different vibe-wise from the beats of the first verse where Eugen opens, which has more of a back to zero bass feel, which I really enjoy. I love the pre-chorus and the beats and the sound and how the pace is picking up. I think it's really good, and those are probably my favorite parts of the song. I also really like Zhang Hao's "You Make Me So Supernatural" line. I think it's really good and really sticks in my head. So we've built up after that dreamlike intro and the pre-chorus that picked up pace to have this drop at the chorus that is one of those choruses that doesn't have many lyrics, it's just mostly the music. I will say the drop is effective, but the chorus itself, like, you know, the whole gosh and instrumental part, I could do without it, but it doesn't bother me a whole lot. It has dark concept The Boys vibes, and it really has NCT 127 and also NCT Dream ISTJ vibes. Once I listened to it a couple times, that's something I kind of picked up on. And this might be weird, but the chorus to me, I think of soda cans, like it, you know, there's a lot going on with the beats and it kind of sounds like tapping on a can in a way. I don't know. It makes me think of High School Musical 2 Work This Out when they're banging on all the kitchen things. But like, anyway, the overall vibes just seem like NCT, and so I think of NCT Dream ISTJ because they had the whole soda can vending machine concept, and it just makes me feel like for the overall concept of this song, if they went with something bright and flashy like ISTJ and with those like colored soda cans and stuff, or maybe like Gravity Ready or Not with the like bright comic book and graffiti style, it would have built a stronger picture for me. But that's not really anything to do with the actual song. It's kind of the way that the concept was delivered and it's being promoted to us. It also reminds me of T by T, Good Boy Gone Bad with the oh parts. I like the part of Gunuk's line that says looking for you out of habit. And I like Matthew's line, for you, my devotion, to you I'd say yes, sir. I'm unfortunately not a fan of the bridge. Really, the pre-chorus and post-chorus is good. And I think that Terry's vocals are really standout, but everyone does a great job. Overall, it's not my preferred concept of sound, but I don't think there's anything wrong with this track. It's catchy and it's generally enjoyable to me. Now I'll be moving to track 4, Kidz Zone. Okay, so Kidz Zone. This is with a Z, obviously Kids with a Z. We had New Kids on the Block with a Z on Youth in the Shade, and now we've got Kidz Zone with a Z on Melting Point. What I'm getting from this song is retro meets old rock meets like somewhere 2010s meets girl group meets Harry Styles. And I really like it. You know, who would have thought all those things would work together, but I really like this song. It's very magical. It has teen drama vibes, and the parts really make me think all of these things. I like the lyrics as well. There's a lot of points in the lyrics that remind me of messages that they had in their first album, especially with Our Season. Obviously, there was New Kids on the Block on the first album, and so we've still got a similar theme on this album. And I also get vibes of And I, but the lyrics at Eugen's part, the stage where our own page begins, really remind me of Our Season lyrics, and I also like the way that that part sounds. Gibbon's part, Perfect Playlist, Endless Magic, is nice as well. I just think that his voice fits the feeling of the song well, and I like how it sounds for this line. I really like the pre-choruses lyrically and rhythmically. I like Matthew's part, Each Person's Style, Friendship That Becomes One. I think it's a nice message of people coming together, and we can look at it with the ZB1 angle of they all came together as one despite being from different companies and stuff. And they've had many lines and messages in their other songs that have this idea of them coming together as one, like Our Season, and that was really the message on their first album with that song. So I think it's nice to see a connection. I like the rhythm of the part in the chorus where they sing, "We shout as much as we want," or "We shout to our heart's content," because I think it really flows nicely. I also like how each chorus says, "We'll be kids forever," but then the final chorus, the last line, is "Remember it forever." I think it concludes the song really nicely, and it's kind of adding to the magical dreaminess of the whole song, and it feels like it was a pause in reality to just be carefree for a moment, but they're saying be sure to remember the fun that you had. So yeah, I really love this one, even though I personally think it has a lot of Western pop and rock influence to it. I think that ZB1 made it work for them as a K-pop group because it ties in well with their Youth in the Shade album, and it makes me think back to those tracks, and it's building onto their story. I think maybe they could have made it a little longer and added some more parts in. I think Jiyoung's tone was particularly really suitable for this song, but there's barely any time for people to have long lines because the song is so short. It is the shortest song on the album, which is unfortunate because it's so good, but at the same time, it's so good the way it is, so why complain? It's nostalgic, which is great for the youthful vibes, and I like the title Kidz Zone because it adds to that, and I really like this track overall. Now it's time for the last track, track 5, Good Night. This song is very pretty. It's also very Christmassy to me. It gives me the same vibes as EXO Christmas songs, which are always a classic. It sort of reminds me of Lovelyz, also Pentagon and B2B. I think the I Wish You Good Night parts sound like B2B, and some of the parts sound like Homesock's vocal tone from Pentagon, which I really enjoy. There's the whole Twinkle Twinkle Little Star piano thing, which is working actually, and the parts during the post-chorus remind me of the other the ah parts in Kidz Zone, the ooh parts in the pre-chorus of Crush. There's a lot of like non-lyric lyrics. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the lyrics are very simple, but that's perfectly fitting of the song because it's very conversational, and I think it's supposed to be a relaxing song. It's called Goodnight, so I don't think you'd want to have this lyrically heavy song right as you're trying to fall asleep. So it works, and it's nice that it's very casual and conversational. I think Matthew's vocal parts, not the parts that are the little English lines, but the pre-chorus lines are really good. I really do like this song. I think it's a nice conclusion. It's a nice way to wind down. It's a good lullaby, and it is a nice song for a playlist to put on before bed. Overall, I really do enjoy this album. I think that they did a really nice job on all the tracks. The songs are all incredibly short though, except for Take My Hand, which is like typical length. The whole EP though is only about 15 minutes. They talk a lot about flying in this album, just as an observation. Just off of memory, I know that they reference flying in Take My Hand, Crush, and Goodnight. So I guess that's a bit of a theme. I do think that Ganu could literally be utilized so much more. I'm not someone who super focuses on part distribution or anything like that, but it just seems like from what we know he's capable of, that he isn't getting to offer up as much. But I do like how Zhang Hao seems to be getting a lot of main parts. I noticed that, generally there are a lot of standout moments for him, which is nice to see. As for the concept, I think it works, and I don't have any major complaints or anything, but my personal style is more towards the wintry and lighter side of this album. So of course I kind of would have liked to see the whole album with that theme instead of the title being basically the complete opposite concept and sound. I don't think it glaringly stands out from the other songs and seems out of place, because I think that Take My Hand helps balance the light and dark, but I am confused as to why the album does overall have a light feeling still, and they also promote the song Melting Point, and it's the name of the album, but it's not the title, and the lighter side feels like the B-side, in a way, of this promotion overall. I get that it's their first comeback and their second release, so they're maybe trying to show that they can achieve both light and dark concepts, like they had in Bloom, which is lighter, and now they have Crush, which is darker. But still, I think it would have tied in those Boys Planet concept images we saw and the whole wintry Melting Point feeling better if the whole album had a light and pretty sound. And that's just my opinion, because it's just my preference. I prefer lighter songs. I do really like, though, how they start and end with very wintry and Christmassy vibes. So since they included Crush and they put it as track 3 in the middle, I think that the placement of Crush in the middle is exactly necessary for it to work overall in this album. If it was track 1, like a lot of title tracks are, I'd be like, no way. But it builds up to Crush and then it slows back down really nicely. So the flow of this album is great. There are a lot of magical and dreamlike elements, and they reference that lyrically as well, which are vibes that I really like, and I do think those elements tie in the winter theme better. I think there's definitely still a theme of youth going on in the tracks. There was a lot directed at their fans as well, but the first EP was Youth in the Shade, and they had New Kids on the Block, and this album has Kidz Zone, and there's a lot of lighter conversational lyrics and uncertainty in a way, and talking about navigating the future and coming together as one. I think I talked about it in the track by track for the first album, but it's still noticeable here that they don't have heavy rap parts, which is something that's really refreshing to me. It's very vocally focused, which is great. I think you can also tell that they worked a lot of moments for dance into these tracks as well, which makes sense for the members. For me, it's a really nice, enjoyable listen, and it's a quick listen as well, so if I really want to hear all of the tracks, it's not going to take long. So that's all for this album. That's my initial reaction to it and thoughts on the tracks. If you enjoyed this commentary and review, you can go ahead and like the video if you're listening on YouTube, and you can subscribe to the BlushCat channel and turn on notifications. If you're listening on Spotify but you haven't followed our Spotify profile, you can go ahead and follow BlushCat on Spotify. Also be sure to follow the BlushCat podcast itself on Spotify. Follow BlushCat's other host, Devin, on social platforms at Devin Christie. You can go ahead and comment your favorite track from ZEROBASEONE Melting Point and just share your general thoughts on the album. How did you like it overall? Personally, I really enjoyed this album and I think that all the tracks are really nice. So I'm looking forward to more promotions of it. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Stay meowing. This has been Courdy Roy.